My name is Rachel Bennett. I'm 37 years old. For 14 years, I believed I was building a home, not just walls and a roof, but a life that mattered. I met my husband, Michael, when I was 23. He was charming, ambitious, the kind of man who made you feel like everything was possible. We bought a modest house 2 years into our marriage. Every night, I pictured our future inside those walls. Family dinners, birthdays, holidays. I worked full-time, sometimes overtime, believing I was securing our dreams. I didn't know the foundation beneath me was already cracked. Every payment I made, every repair, every careful choice about paint or furniture, it was never mine. Not legally. I was a tenant in the life I thought I owned. The thought never crossed my mind that the people I trusted most could manipulate reality so completely. I believed love, loyalty, and money would protect me. I was wrong. Completely wrong. And I wouldn't realize the betrayal until 15 years later, when the truth hit like a hammer, shattering everything I thought I had built. Until then, I was blind. I was proud. I was utterly invested. But none of it mattered. None of it. Michael said it would be smarter to put the house in his mother's name. It's temporary, he assured me. Taxes, paperwork, it's easier this way. I trusted him. I didn't question it. I was working in marketing, pulling in enough to cover most of the mortgage anyway. Every month, I sent the payment without hesitation, feeling responsible, proud, like I was doing the right thing. His mother, Linda, thanked me once. Just once. I thought it was kindness. I didn't realize it was rehearsed gratitude, a performance to keep me quiet, compliant, and blind. Over the years, I paid, and I never felt cheated, until the cracks started appearing. Michael started forgetting bills, diverting money for other things, investments that sounded risky, unnecessary, and yet I covered the gaps. I thought that's what marriage was: sacrifice, teamwork. I had no idea I was building their security, not ours. I was feeding a lie with every paycheck, every careful planning of repairs, every late-night discussion about the house. I didn't see it then. I only see it now, with the clarity that comes after betrayal. Every dollar, every effort, every tear poured into that house belonged to them, not me. I was invisible in my own life. For years, I paid. When Michael changed jobs, when he invested in his side projects, when money was tight, I covered the gaps. I told myself this was what partners do. I painted the walls, picked out the tiles, planted flowers in the garden, hosted family dinners, and decorated for holidays. I created memories inside walls that legally were never mine. Friends and neighbors admired our home, complimented me on the renovations, the garden, the coziness. I smiled, proud of the life I built with my hands, my money, my energy. I thought love and hard work would protect me. I never imagined that every single effort I made, every contribution, was feeding someone else's security net. I didn't see the pattern. I didn't question Michael's words when he reminded me that the house wasn't technically in my name. I believed him. Until the day I realized that belief had been a cage. Every laugh, every dinner, every quiet night in the living room, I had thought it was ours. It wasn't. It belonged to them. And I had been blind. The first real crack wasn't financial. It was emotional. Michael grew distant, cold, clipped in his words. "You wouldn't survive without me," he said more than once. Strange, considering I paid most of the bills, handled the renovations, and kept our lives afloat when things went wrong. I brushed it off. I didn't want conflict. I wanted peace. But the words lingered. The subtle looks from his mother, the casual comments about who really owned what, they piled up, small but heavy. I started questioning myself. Was I overreacting? Was I imagining the contempt? I thought it was just a rough patch, a phase, something temporary. But deep inside, a tiny seed of unease sprouted. Something didn't add up. I felt trapped in a life I was financing, nurturing, and protecting, yet somehow always reminded that I was replaceable, dispensable, invisible. The first time I truly feared that everything I worked for could vanish was the first time I felt real anger. Quiet, cold anger, like ice in my veins. I didn't know then that it would be the fire I needed to reclaim my life. Then came the hammer. One afternoon, the bank called. Regarding the sale of the property sale? My mind froze. Mistake, surely a mistake. But the agent continued, calmly. Margaret Bennett, your mother-in-law, is initiating a sale. My heart stopped. Margaret. The woman I had smiled at, served, and treated like family for years. She was trying to sell a house I had been paying for 15 years. I hung up and dialed Michael immediately. His voice was flat, annoyed. Mom's just exploring options, he said. Exploring options? With my home? I asked why no one told me. He sighed, as if I was overreacting. It's not technically your house, Rachel. Not a slap, not a shout. Just words. And yet they hit me like a brick wall. All those years, all those payments, all those memories, legally invisible. In that instant, pride turned to disbelief, disbelief into numbness, and numbness into a quiet, burning determination. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I started planning. That night, I couldn't sleep. I opened my banking app and scrolled back through 15 years of history. Mortgage payments, renovation costs, property taxes, most of it from my account. Every transfer meticulously logged, every expense noted. For the first time, I documented everything quietly, methodically, without a word. Memories flashed in my mind, painting the kitchen with Michael, planting tulips in the garden, hosting friends and family who complimented the home I had built. All of it, legally, someone else's. I realized the truth. Love doesn't always protect you, loyalty doesn't always matter, and hard work doesn't guarantee security. But documentation does. My hands shook as I forwarded statements to my private email, preparing for the day I would need proof. I felt a strange mix of fear and clarity. Fear, because confronting this would shake my world. Clarity, because for the first time, I saw the path forward. They thought I was naive, emotional, easily manipulated. They didn't know that quiet, steady determination could be stronger than their schemes. I wasn't ready to fight yet, but I was preparing. And preparation, I realized, was power. 2 days later, Linda came over. She spoke slowly, carefully, choosing each word as if I were a child. We think it's time for Michael to have a fresh start. We. Not him. Not us. We. She told me I could stay for a while after the sale. Like a guest. Like a tenant. In the house I had paid for, maintained, and nurtured for 15 years. Every polite word dripped with condescension. I smiled, quietly, internally counting every payment, every hour, every sacrifice they had tried to erase. It wasn't fear that rose in me. It wasn't panic. It was clarity. They had underestimated me. They assumed I would cry, beg, argue. Instead, I booked a consultation with a property attorney the next morning. Calm, methodical, precise. I wouldn't be dramatic. I wouldn't scream. I would be unstoppable. For 15 years, I had built the foundation. And foundations, once set, don't crumble quietly. They didn't know it yet, but their control was slipping. Michael exploded when he found out. "You're humiliating my mother," he shouted. I looked at him calmly. "No. I'm protecting myself." He kept insisting it was just paperwork, technicalities. But technicalities were exactly how they had tried to erase me all these years. All the payments, all the work, all the memories, they had hoped I would disappear quietly. But I hadn't. I moved out of the house that week, packed my things carefully, leaving nothing behind that could define me in their eyes. I took control of my finances, my records, my future. The divorce attorney's number was already in my phone. The house wasn't just a house anymore. It was a symbol of how close I had come to losing myself and how far I had come in reclaiming my life. I wasn't angry in the way they expected. I was calm, focused, determined. The quiet storm of 15 years of diligence, patience, and resilience had finally found its moment. And I was ready to strike. Life without them was quiet at first. I rented a small apartment downtown, furnished it with what I could carry, and finally felt space to breathe. For the first time in years, I wasn't explaining myself, justifying my choices, or placating anyone. I focused on my career, took on projects that excited me, and slowly, the fear that had shadowed me for 15 years started to lift. I decorated my apartment not for anyone else, but for me. The walls reflected my taste, my personality, my independence. I even started taking dance classes, something I had given up after marriage, convinced it was frivolous. The little things, once stolen from me by guilt and obligation, became my triumphs. I learned to value myself, not as a wife, a daughter-in-law, or a helper, but as Rachel, my own person. And with each step forward, I realized that losing the house, losing their approval, losing the illusion of family control, had given me something far more valuable. Freedom. Then came an unexpected call. Michael's voice was hesitant, almost meek. "Rachel, we need to talk about the house." My heart tightened, but I stayed calm. I listened while he tried to explain, justify, and minimize what had happened. He wanted a solution, some middle ground where they could feel safe and I would stay quiet. But I had already won something far more important than compromise. I held the records, the proof, the facts. And I held my boundaries. I told him firmly that any discussion would happen through my attorney. He paused, realizing that I wasn't the same woman he had dismissed for 15 years. I had transformed. The girl who had smiled, paid, and forgave without question was gone. In her place was someone steady, unshakable, someone who would not be erased, forgotten, or ignored. The unexpected contact didn't scare me, it confirmed how far I had come. Their panic was now my reality check. And I was ready. Mediation was tense. Numbers spoke louder than words. 15 years of payments, documented meticulously, hundreds of thousands of dollars flowing from my account for mortgage, taxes, repairs, and renovations. Margaret avoided my gaze. Michael stopped speaking about loyalty or sacrifice. The lawyer walked through every statement, every transfer, every memo note. Each entry was undeniable proof. The room, once theirs to manipulate, now belonged to clarity, logic, and fairness. I felt the tide shift. For 15 years, they had assumed my compliance, my silence. Now, the truth was louder than their favoritism, louder than their condescension, louder than the entire web of deceit they had spun. I didn't need to shout, cry, or beg. Numbers did it for me. Every penny I had paid spoke for itself. And suddenly, I wasn't invisible anymore. I was recognized, validated, and unshakable. The foundation I had built, financially, emotionally, and morally, could not be erased. The aftermath was quiet but decisive. Michael tried to argue, shout, plead, but I remained calm. This isn't about humiliation, I told him. It's about protecting myself. I moved out that week, renting a new apartment closer to work. I closed joint accounts, transferred my savings, and kept meticulous copies of every transaction. Linder tried to call, to guilt me, to negotiate. I didn't answer. I filed for divorce the same week. Not because of the house, but because of the sentence. It's not technically your house. They had tried to erase me, erase my contributions, erase my life. I didn't just survive, I reclaimed control. Every step, every dollar, every memory became mine legally, morally, and emotionally. They thought I would crumble, cry, or beg. Instead, I acted with clarity, precision, and quiet power. I wasn't angry in the way they expected. I was calm, deliberate, and unshakable. For 15 years, I had built the foundation. And foundations, once laid, don't disappear quietly. I didn't scream. I didn't celebrate. I took a deep breath and walked forward. For the first time, I realized something. I wasn't defined by their approval, by their control, or by a house. I was defined by my actions, my resilience, my courage. I filed for divorce, kept my finances, and focused on my career, my friends, and my own growth. The house? Legally, it was still theirs in name, but my financial claim and documentation ensured I couldn't be erased. I had built the foundation, paid for it, lived in it, and proven it beyond doubt. And that was enough. I wasn't just a survivor. I was Rachel Bennett, the woman who had been underestimated, ignored, and manipulated, yet stood taller, stronger, and unshakable. Foundations don't disappear quietly, and neither did I. I finally understood that power isn't in what they own, it's in knowing your worth and defending it with precision, courage, and calm.